Okay, so I'm going to talk about short stroking. Short stroking is taking your sector gear right here and removing a tooth and or more, and having the cycle of the piston return quicker. The release action would be depending on how this is set up. You could have it release back within here at some point wherever you want to remove teeth. Now, how you want a short stroke, let's go over the proper way and then the improper way. The improper way can work. It just depends. If you cut these teeth right here, this is called the improper way. The reason is because as you get closer, this is at the time that the selector plate has actually cycled forward, and your piston is about ready to release. So if you had removed teeth from here, imagine that your release is right here as an example. The tappet plate has just barely cycled forward and it's released the piston at the same time. Chances are you're going to lose FPS just because it cannot cycle properly. So the way to properly do this is to remove from the pickup side. The pickup side is the side that would pick up the piston, as you can see there. So as this comes around, then if it's removed here, your release side is still the same regardless. Things to note: you will want a release tooth that is metal. You can see this is all metal, so I have no issue of making any of this removed. I could choose to improperly do this depending on if it's a slow cycling gun. I could do that if I wanted to. However, it's suggested to take it from this side. Now, optional, but probably suggested, is you can remove the teeth from here after you have removed teeth from here. You don't necessarily need to, because if it's releasing on a metal tooth, let's say it releases here, odds are that there's no way for it to nick this tooth. If you just short stroke the piston, however, then yeah, that is a chance of nicking, because imagine trying to release on the tooth right here, and it's possible that the spring resistant is trying to push it as hard as it can. It's going to nick the next tooth. So if you removed a tooth in between here, that would be a bad choice to do. I guess if you did it way up to here, it wouldn't be an issue, just simply because these teeth would be hard to reach. Just depends on how you did it, but the suggested way would definitely be to mark off whatever you don't need from starting this point area and come this way. So don't just do the piston. General rule is you can get away with just doing the sector gear, and then if you optionally want to remove teeth from here, that's going to remove weight from this, but never do just the piston by itself. That is a no-no. As far as why you would want to short stroke, there's a couple of reasons. Let's say your spring right here is too long, and I don't mean just length. You want to count the coils and see that it can in fact go all the way down. What I usually do to test this is to take your spring and piston and you just push it all the way down, and you can see right here that it has no issue doing that. That's how you would check your spring before you install it. Take the spring out here, and it went all the way down to this point. So if it can do that, as long as it does that in the gearbox, you'll be fine. You can check to see if your piston does this as well. Sorry, I cannot see what I'm doing, so that makes it much harder. So can your piston get all the way back here? I don't see an issue. There's nothing blocking the path of that. So why would you short stroke? You could short stroke for a volume purpose, just because your piston will return sooner and you're using a certain amount of volume within your cylinder. This is full without port. So if I was using a smaller length barrel, the volume is not really proportionate to the barrel. So an option would be to port it, or if you actually short stroked it, you would use the same volume length that is there, if that would make sense to anybody out there. Basically, because a lot of people don't know what the barrel length versus the cylinder type needs to be. Another thing is to short stroke to remove FPS. Now again, this kind of depends. If you're using a full port, a full non-ported cylinder, you may actually be increasing FPS. It just depends on the more teeth you take off, because your barrel volume is proportionate now with your cylinder volume and your barrel length, excuse me. So in some cases, if you have the correct type of cylinder and the correct length of barrel, when you short stroke, then your FPS is definitely going to go down. Now it's going to depend on those setups. So short stroking can get rid of a few issues. The FPS for one. Two, if you cannot get your piston to come back all the way, maybe there's too many coils and it hits in here and you don't want to snip your spring, then you can get it to release sooner here. Overspin, the more you remove short stroke, the more likely it is to, let me think for a second here. If you were to release sooner and your gears are spinning quicker, the momentum is still there, mainly because your gears are shifting, and when you cut off power, you've already passed this release. So in a way, the only way to get rid of overspin would be a stronger spring. So I wouldn't recommend short stroking for that reason. The short stroking really is only a case of FPS reduction, or if you don't want to port your cylinder, I guess. Overall, it would be better to short stroke also for speed setups. High speed, the pre-engagement is an issue itself. Let's say you have this coming back and you're going 30 rounds a second on an M90, M100 as an example, M90 or an M100, and you're pushing pre-engagement on standard for sure. And the reason is because this spring is just not powerful enough to press this forward. However, if you remove some teeth here and from the sector, your piston would release sooner, giving the chances more for recoil. So let's say it hits here and it recoils a little bit and comes back in play. Now when the sector comes all the way around, it can grab it. But before, maybe it was this much. It had came, hit, and it's in the recoiling process or something. It'll come around and snip these teeth here as an example. So that's really what I would say all the short stroking is about. In some cases you really don't need to short stroke. You could do something with your cylinder. It just depends what you're doing. For high speed though, if you want to release sooner and get away from pre-engagement, you can do this. You could go with a higher spring, stronger spring, and then short stroke for FPS. It just depends what you want to do.